believe. So the wide range of experience in the clinical, of course, the budding pharmacists, those who are from the various institutions, those who are eagerly waiting what I can choose for my profession in the future days. Of course, yes, this I believe, and of course we all, the APSC team, we believe this will be a fruitful webinar for you guys. Yes, speak from the speaker. It's time for you to gain knowledge from our speaker. Without wasting his valuable time, I request Dr. Pastor Patel sir, please present your talk. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Mansa Deepa. Before I start, can I start sharing my screen, please?
Yes, please, sir.
Okay. And let me know if you can see my screen.
We can, sir. Yes, it's visible.
Okay. I'm just going to put it on the presentation mode. Give me a second. Okay, so so first of all, thank you everyone, and my apologies.
But
Yes, Dr. Mansa.
breaking.
Hear me okay, Dr. Mansa?
Yes, no we can.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you everyone for the nice introduction. I'm not sure how much I deserve that, but something I was just having earlier chat with Dr. Joshi yesterday. There was a Purnima, and I looked up messages. I also sent quite a few messages to my gurus, and something. So I wrote a blog which said something. Your self-belief is greater than doubts of 1,000 other people. And I think that's something I'm going to talk in today's session about the passion that I am carrying. Maybe, Dr. Deepa, are we able to mute all the participants?
Yeah, with your permission, I request the audience, as well as delegates, those who are here, please take this legislation as in a serious way. May interrupt if you are in a mute, if you mute your audio, it will be a grateful help for us. Please.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I think today I'm going to talk about the passion that I'm carrying in the field of clinical research for the last 25 years. And that passion is not because it has given me loads of career opportunities or monetary benefit, traveling all these different countries, or I think it is all because I love the field of clinical research. So even if some of these monetary benefits, the travel, it wasn't there, I would have still loved the clinical research profession. And I hope I want to just transfer some of that passion during the talk. Now, before I start, anyone, if you would like to sort of connect me with on LinkedIn, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can scan the Q code. Happy to get connected. And on the right-hand side, you will also see there is a small clinical research news channel on the Telegram, which is again free. So anyone would like to hear the latest news in the field of clinical research, feel free to join that channel. And I have just in the chat function added a link. So that's sort of just not more than a minute or two survey, which if you can complete at the end of the session, that would help me to see how I was able to communicate with you all. Is there anything you liked? And is there any other feedback for me which will help me to improve my future sessions? So if you can please take that time, that would be great. And I think Dr. Mansa Deepa did tell, please do ask questions. I would like to repeat that again. And I just want to state there are no silly questions. Probably there are silly answers. So let's move on. And this is sort of my little house in the UK, just about 40 miles away from UK, London. And what you see in that little circle, that's my office from where I'm currently speaking. So it is just one of the rare scene when we get snow. So I just took the picture. It just feels nice. Now I have a few slides, and as Dr. Deepa and others mentioned, I have spent almost all my life working with the same organization for the last 25 good years, and I'm still working with the same company. It is just I changed my locations, from Ahmedabad to Mumbai. Then I was in Bangalore, then to Singapore. I was also in Vietnam, Indonesia. Spent some time in Japan, the Australia, New Zealand, and now, since last 7 years, moved to the UK. So, although I'm going to talk about the experiences, just as a sort of disclaimer, the opinion expressed in this presentation are my own views, not necessarily, my company views. That doesn't mean I'm just going to talk something irrelevant, but I just want to state that. So what we are going to discuss today, I just want to talk to you about what is clinical research, what is not clinical research. Also, I think main topic, what are the opportunities for the clinical research for the professionals like you, and then sort of moving into the qualifications required, and then also understand. Everyone, please. Thank you. So, and what are the skill gaps we have in the, as I see from the industry perspective, possible can be filling those gaps. So I think we have about 45-50 minutes, and we will cover these topics, and then we have some time for Q&A. In the meantime, if you have any questions which you can't stop, please add them in the chat function. We will try to address them. And then, if we can't answer all of those questions, I will get back to Dr. Deepa or other members with those answers. So before I start, I just want to hear, I hope you can still use your chat function, and just wanted to give maybe 10 seconds. Do you all know what is the major cause of deaths globally? And when I say major cause of death, we all hear, the news about COVID, the lives, every country is losing because of COVID. We also hear, different research articles. So just wanted to take a quick pause, and if you can just put it in the chat function, in your opinion, which is the major killer of, across the world in terms of death? So anyone would like to just put your, in the chat function, which you think, is it COVID? Is it something else? Is it stroke? Or is it, okay, I think somebody said, interesting, Anaga Sonar, hunger, very, very interesting. I really like that. Smoking, maybe, very nice. The Nabi, Nabi, I think you're saying smoking is major killer. I think very interesting question. So I think some more quick answers. But, if you see, I think there is a notion everyone feels, and I was just looking at this article. Usually I follow this out of my own passion outside of clinical research. Yesterday, I think around evening my time here in the UK, I looked at globally, we have close to 4.1 million deaths because of COVID. So 4.1, just to translate that in an Indian context, it's about 41 lakh deaths, which is a huge number. And this COVID pandemic is still hitting us badly in its different form. And these 41 lakh deaths are over a period of, I would say, a year and a half. So, COVID started back in November 2019, and it is still continuing in different countries in different intensity. I also looked at the number of deaths occurred in India as of yesterday from the statistics, and we have close to 4 lakh deaths because of COVID. So it's about 41 lakhs globally and about 4 lakhs within India. So maybe 1/10 of those deaths occurred in India. Now, why I'm telling, because I conducted few sessions, and many times there is a belief saying that, oh, this is the major killer across the globe. And do we really believe? And I think some of you said in my previous session, said yes, COVID is the major killer. It is not that, and I want to show you some hard statistics. So if you look at this, is of course the world data in the year 2017, and I think they do sort of data every 4 years. So the next data is going to come this year. But if you look at the number of deaths by cause across the globe in year 2017, we have number one killer, which is the cardiovascular disease, which are about 18 million deaths caused just in 1 year. And that is sort of number one killer. Versus what you see COVID over a period of year and a half, it just sort of, I'm not, and again, please don't get me wrong. The number of deaths because of COVID are 4 million versus 18 million with the cardiovascular. So what I'm trying to say, COVID is the disease burden for the globe, but it is not amongst those 10 category. There are many other diseases where still research is trying to find unmet medical need. Cardiovascular is one of cancer. Somebody says smoking, yes. Even I think somebody says hunger, which is sort of the nutritional deficiency, and I think the world is still grappling with that. And some of the complications because of that, various psychiatric illnesses. So I think the point I'm saying, there are many, unfortunately, many other unmet medical needs, which are still, where still a lot of research needs to be done. I also now want to translate that. I think you may say like this is the global data, but in India, how the picture looks like. Now, India, if you see, this is again the same statistics at the same year. Cardiovascular disease again tops the the rank with close to 2.6 million deaths versus 0.4 million. So again you will see there are 10 times more killers which are surrounded by us, and research is still trying to find the effective treatment. And I think very sadly, apart from these diseases, these kind of diseases are called as lifestyle diseases affecting young population, which is supposed to be most productive population, bringing some income back in home, also helping the economy of the country. I think these young populations are getting affected because of some of this top 10 killer, which is another important thing wherein research needs to take that accelerated pace. So again, I will just quickly go through a couple of slides. This is another like 2019 data. I got it from another source. You can see the ischemic heart disease, like, within that cardiovascular, 16% of deaths occur just because of that globally. Stroke, the COPD, like the asthma, lower respiratory tract infection, the neonatal infection, somebody says, because of the hunger. Again, I think this is form of that neonatal deficiency, nutritional deficiency. So we have some issues around that in some less developed countries. And so I think, why I'm telling you, I think this is where research needs to be done. And this is where I think, the constant new therapies are being tested. They are safe and effective. And how that is done, that's what we are going to do, learn in my sort of, next few slides about the field of clinical research and how this is sort of, helping, bringing some new therapies, medicines into the world market. Again, I think because you are pharmacy professionals, I'm not going to bore you, what is meant by the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trial, how those are conducted. I think, you have some understanding about that. But at the same time, I do want to state here, whenever, to bring a new molecule into the world market, right from, it gets originated in the lab, the chemical processes, all the way to the animal toxicity, first in man study, which is phase 1, or then phase 2, wherein we look at the efficacy of the drug, phase 3, and finally drug gets approved. All that period, it ranges anywhere between 10 to 15 years. And I think the success rate sometimes is, 1,000 compound you test in the lab, end up with one successful candidate. And the cost of clinical research is soaring very, very high. So it ranges anywhere between $900 million to more than $1.8 billion. And I think if you look at that overall cost, close to 70 to 80% cost is involved in the clinical research, right from phase 1 to phase 3 study. And I think this is sort of a fascinating phase in terms of understanding how that everything works. And it is that branch of healthcare which determines the safety, more important safety and efficacy of medicine before they are brought into market. Because medicines not necessarily mean actual drug. It can be a treatment, it can be a device, or it can be a diagnostic tool to relieve symptoms of the disease. Hopefully, you can still hear me okay. And Dr. Manisha, please let me know if my voice is still audible and you can still see my screen on the web. If somebody can just confirm, you can follow me.
We can see that outside, sir.
Thank you. So, and I think I'll keep on asking to make sure I'm not getting lost because of the internet connectivity. And I think there are over 100 participants, which is good. So I want to talk to you about what is clinical research and what is not clinical research. I think this is something quite interesting. And many times when I speak to some of the industry universities, constantly I think some the clinical research and clinical practice, and these are two different things. And explain that with some examples. So just give me a second. I'm trying to pull my screen bit down because it's blocking me. So if you look at the clinical research, clinical practice, what I meant by that, clinical research is an experiment. And when I say experiment, these are clinical trials which are conducted on the medicines which are not yet launched into the world market. The safety and efficacy is yet to be established. So it is still an experiment which we consider. Versus clinical practice, it is an established treatment. What does that mean? If you want to get treated in today's world for, say, your fever, the tablet, it is an established treatment. There is enough research to demonstrate that it will relieve you from the fever. But it just consider maybe 100 years ago, when this paracetamol was a clinical trial, it was an experiment that time, and it was not an established treatment because nobody knew whether that was helping time. So that's sort of one difference in the clinical research and clinical practice. Another clinical research in a controlled environment. What you're seeing in that previous slide, you have those very well designed protocols which are part of the phase 1 all the way to phase 3 clinical trial. Not everyone gets enrolled into that. There's a lot of ethical, scientific aspect in order to protect safety and well-being of each participant who gets enrolled into the study. So those are very well controlled. Versus the clinical practice, which is done by the medical doctors, they are, they conduct and practice with these treatments approved by the regulatory authorities. Same way, as I said, clinical research, the primary aim is to establish safety and efficacy of the drug, versus the clinical, if you look at the clinical practice, it is helping treat the disease and by the time safety is already established. So I think those are sort of subtle differences, even though the clinical research and clinical practice, the medical doctors are involved, it is different. And I think sometimes that's where you as a pharmacist, if you want to enter into the field of clinical research, needs to know that. And I just want to spend very quickly, maybe 2-3 minutes, just to explain real example research and clinical practice.
Bhau Sahib, sir.
Yes.
Sir, excuse me, sir. You are not clearly audible, sir.
Oh,
can you kindly put your headphone nearby?
Yeah, let me do that.
Yes.
Yeah, give me a second.
No, sir.
Is it better now or not yet?
Yes, it's better now.
All right. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. Good. And thank you. Thank you for, and apologies. I think sometimes this technology helps, sometimes it does not. So I want to talk to you very quickly in just a couple of minutes about, the real life example. Now, in the clinical research, we use terminology as an adverse event, and that is slightly very much different from a side effect. And as I said, in the clinical research, we're still doing this as an experiment, so we still do not know what are the unwanted things associated with the trial medicine. So there is a term which is used as an adverse event, and that adverse event is any sort of unwanted thing which is happening to the subject, which may or may not have relationship with the study drug under investigation. So I think there was a study being conducted on a Parkinson disease trial with the transdermal patch. And during the trial, it was conducted in about 10 different countries across the globe. And we noticed that trial associated with something peculiar, which is called, as a injury occurred because of the dog bite. Now, can everyone please keep your phone on mute?
Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Please, delegates, I request you. In the beginning itself, we have give a clear legislation. Please, if you want to give the importance to the talk, please mute your audio system. Sorry for the interruption, Patil sir.
No problem. Thank you. So I think, we, as I was saying, in that clinical trial, we usually ask all the doctors to report everything which is unusual, any medical condition which or unwanted effects. So as per that definition, we had some injuries because of the dog bite across few patients in this clinical trial. Now, there are a lot of debate. Many doctors were saying what this dog bite has to do with the clinical research. The injury occurred, and in some of those cases where, in some countries, people have dogs as their pets. So they were just taking the dog for a walk outside or in their house, and dog had dog bit their owners. So that was one case. But in some cases, other countries, there are street dogs who ended up biting some of these clinical trial patients. And on the face of it, you feel it has no relation at all, which is perfectly understandable. But when this data was analyzed as a part of that phase 2 clinical trial, what we realized some interesting phenomena. When that patch was applied, it used to secrete peculiar hormones on the skin layers, and that hormone ended up sort of having peculiar odor, which triggered dog to bite. So you can imagine, I think some of these discoveries were possible because we collected this data, which we call as an adverse event, which normally, we would not have done that, because you would almost jump onto the conclusion saying, it has no relation. But then I think that's how some of this discovery come into place. This is how then you feel, you see some indications on the drug in the form of side effect. If you're taking this medicine, do not drive heavy machineries. If you're taking this drug, it will make you drowsy. In current vaccines, you will also see, they say, like, after taking vaccine, you will have sort of a fever, fatigue, you have body ache for a day or so, and it will subside down. So I think these are the sort of things which are noticed as a part of that clinical research. So it is very important. We need to differentiate between adverse event and common side effect. And then, through that collection of such adverse event data in clinical trial, you establish possible relationship through further analysis, and then, some of those adverse events could become a side effect. So this is just an example. Now let me move on. How this clinical research sort of, is interesting, apart from, giving something back to the society. It is, I think, if you look at the clinical research as such, again, it is traditionally, this clinical research was conducted into the Western countries like the United States, Europe, Japan, the UK. And if I look at probably less than 1% of clinical research, almost like none of that clinical research was conducted in the other part of the country, which is sort of the Eastern world, the Asia. And if you just look at on the right hand side of my screen, almost like, and this is the figure, I would say about 10 years ago, and even it was completely different 15 years ago when I started my career. So more than 50% of clinical research was done in the US, about 30% in Europe, and a couple of percentage in Asia. And now, with the advances, if you look at on the other hand, the population of India, China, and Indonesia, which are the top three of the top three populous countries of the world. And when I say top three, of course, in the United States probably comes number 3 or number 4, but Indonesia and these countries are one of the top 5. So if you consider population of these 3 countries together, which is more than 50%. Now, only 1% clinical research is done in the 50% of population, and maybe where the population is just 30%, 90% of clinical research is done there. And I think this is something which is in the field of clinical research is an undiverse population. So the clinical research drug which is tested in white population, we then use it in the black or the Asian population, and that's where sometimes you do not find the right efficacy, right dosing. And I think there is a realization now. You must be hearing a lot of talk about diversity in clinical trial, and I think this is the reason why clinical research is coming to Asia region. It is not because, and I think there is a notion many times we feel people are being used as guinea pig. The research is done unethical. Personally, having part of clinical research profession in the last 25 years and having seen some of these COVID vaccines getting developed almost every day and night in the last 18 months, I can vouch, that, and probably I would be the first person to take that vaccine. So I think it is done in the most ethical way. I think it is just the way sometimes people look at that differently. But I think, we still need that clinical research to be done in this Asian population to make sure drug tested in different ethnics, different races, and in another world, I think that is also good for you as a professional, so that you are able to see the therapy which are going to come into the market 10 years down the line. You are getting that experience today. The doctors are getting that experience today, and I think this is also going to bring loads of opportunities for you people if you want to become part of clinical research. So this is just another sort of real article I pulled it out from the US FDA website, a very sort of solid data for the last sort of 4 years from 2015 to 2019. If you look at out of those 300,000 clinical trial participants or patients in different clinical studies, about 76% participants are from white origin. Sort of some of those are like from the US or the United States. So the white ethnic origin. Asian population is just 11%, and again, that Asian population also include subjects recruited in sort of Asia, but the Asian population residing in other countries. So you can imagine, sort of the research needs to be done more diverse, and I think this is where this is taking a pace. And you will also see a lot of pharmaceutical companies are setting their base in Asia. Now, important thing to understand within Asia, like if you look at those populous countries, India, China, Indonesia, I personally believe India has still that upper hand. The reason being, and this will be surprising to you, the language of the communication in India, and when I say communication, all our professional degrees are taught in the English language. So all our communication in professional courses is in English, which is not the case in China, which is not the case in Japan. When I was in Singapore 8 years ago, I used to conduct my training courses to our office in Japan in English, but at the same time, there was someone else, a translator, who used to translate that into Japanese language. So you see, I think that English communication, our awareness about English is definitely going to put us at that cutting edge, at an advantage compared to China or India, because we can communicate, and therefore we bring closer to that clinical research world where most of the communication is happening in English. So I think this is another reason why I personally believe India has that advantage within that Asian region, and at the same time the clinical research is growing because of those other factors that I mentioned. Now, I'm also looking at the watch. you heard about, what is clinical research, what is not. You also looked at some of those, why those opportunities are coming in. And this is just sort of, another slide just to show how that excellent opportunity is coming in. The global clinical research market is more than 46 billion US dollar. And because of the reasons I mentioned earlier, there are still unmet medical needs. Clinical research needs to happen. This research is going at the rate of almost like more than 5% growth. And I can tell you, this is the probably only industry I have seen which was very, very active. In fact, more active last year, despite the pandemic. You have seen, some of this, like in hotel industry, the tourism industry, the airline industry, they have almost come to a standstill with people losing the job. And at the same time, I think people like me, we have been working almost like twice the time normally we would do, because we had a job at hand. We know, there are 100,000 people dying every day, and we need to bring something to to them in the form of vaccine or COVID treatment. So this is sort of growing. This growth is happening everywhere. However, there is a big gap with the skill required. And I think I have been in discussion various sort of, the university professors or academicians back in India, even here in the UK. I gave similar talk to a couple of colleges, King's College in London, as well as when I was in Singapore. I gave few speeches to the National University of Singapore. And when I look at the curriculum in the pharmacy, sadly, I feel some of that curriculum is not meeting the needs what industry is looking at in terms of clinical research profession. And you will see some of these opportunities, and of course these are old figures, but just to give an example, when we started the Quintiles, this is an organization in India about in 96. I was one of those top number 10 employee, or one of the 10 employees which were part of the organization that time. So I think this is an American company. We were about 10,000 employees globally. Out of 10,000, there were just 10 employees in India. If you see today's condition, we are close to, I think, 75,000 employees across 150 different countries. But out of that 75,000, close to 20,000 employees are based just in India in about 10 different locations. So that's the growth in terms of number of employees. And the reason I'm saying, even though the growth has seen everywhere that 5%, more rapid growth is happening in India, and that is going to bring a lot of job opportunities. And this is just one example of that clinical research organization. There are many others. There are many other pharmaceutical companies who are building their research units back in India. So this is just a slide talks about what are those different roles. And I'm taking this fast forward, but maybe I can talk maybe just another hour just to explain what are these roles. But there are various roles in the clinical research, starting with the clinical operation, wherein you interact with the doctors, you make sure the data is collected accurately, patients' rights and well-being are protected. Then you go into that project management, wherein you start overseeing clinical trial program. Then also you look at the regulatory affairs, wherein how the protocols are designed, how the data is submitted, the medical monitoring, wherein they look at the safety aspect, the business development, which is something, how you can, look at the company profitability or sell your services. The clinical research hospitals, where the research is actually conducted. There are lots of roles available there. The pharmacovigilance, I think you may have seen right now, this COVID vaccines, we are conducting that additional safety data. The data also needs to be analyzed. So we also have some of those data management, biostatistician, loads of opportunities, the central laboratory services, the quality assurance. So I think these are the roles, you can aspire if you want to be part of clinical research. And growth within individual function is tremendous. And you can also move around from world role to another, which is what I have done in the last 25 years. I can say I have managed almost most of those roles as a part of my career growth, not just in one country, one region, but almost like 3 different continents. So I think I'm also looking at the watch, sort of probably I just need about 10 minutes, and we will then open it for Q&A. But Dr. Manasa and Dr. Joshi, can you still hear me okay? Is my voice audible? Just wanted to take a quick sound check.
Everything
Yes,
is clear, sir. Please carry on.
everything.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
please proceed.
Okay. Okay. And hopefully I'm not going too fast, but if I am, please give me a sign.
I am. Please give it.
Okay.
It's fine, sir.
All right. So I think we have seen about clinical research, what is not. Is this the field that I want to make career in? You also have looked at that. Now let's quickly look at what are the skills required. And I think this is where, as I said, when I was sort of looking at, as an industry, when we look at who we want to recruit, generally, I think, the life science graduates, which could be like, microbiologist, pharmacist, medical graduate, postgraduates in like, B Pharm, M Pharm, PhDs, PharmDs, MBBS, even nursing professionals. Now, I think you will also see personally, again, you will feel I'm a bit biased, but pharmacy has that advantage because we not only know about the pharmacology part, but we also know about the drug development process. We are very close to that drug development process, the manufacturing part. At the same time, we are also very close to pharmacology, which is where I feel personally we are ideal suited amongst different other life science courses. Something you should be proud of it. In fact, last year when this lot of research was done, the Prime Minister of UK, he just in one of his speech he mentioned many times we end up thanking doctors, nurses, key workers, but there is a profession which normally we don't see, but they work behind the scene. And he mentioned about pharmacists, the clinical research organization. He said right now everyone is locked down inside the house, and even personally, quite honestly, the place where I live, I'm surrounded by some British families. They were not aware about what I do, but when this COVID pandemic started, almost like every time when I used to go out, there used to be a question in their mark, Bhav, when the vaccine is going to come. Probably you are part of that clinical research, so are you aware? And I think so I think this is something he mentioned, the Prime Minister. This is the field which is not spoken, but they have become paramount important now. And we all our eyes are on them, that something will happen as a part of that clinical research journey. And that's what you have seen now. We have some vaccines in the play. So apart from this qualification, you also need few other areas. You need to know the knowledge of how clinical trials are conducted, the efficacy aspect, the safety aspect. What is different from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3? What is the different? What is meant by good clinical practice? What is the role of ethics committee, regulatory authorities in clinical research? Is this just the working in the lab? What is the importance of documentation? How you can apply the technology? And I think nowadays you must be hearing, on one hand, I'm saying the research takes about 10 to 15 years, and on the other hand, I'm also saying we were able to bring this vaccine just in a span of 1 year to the world market. How that is possible? Is that really safe? We are also hearing a lot, that I'm not going to take vaccine. In fact, I myself was behind my mother, who is back in India, to persuade her, please, can you please take vaccine? And she was telling me, please don't take vaccine because it will make you impotent. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Sorry. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry. Yeah. That's
Awesome.
okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think everyone is talking, as I was saying, like, everyone is talking about how this vaccine came so fast. But I think there has been a lot of process going in. The application of technology got into place. So in the traditional world, the clinical research was conducted in a way patient used to visit hospital. But last year, with the use of this technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Lean Six Sigma principle, the decentralization of clinical trial happened, and clinical trial started getting closer to the patient. And again, there is a separate session, and I'm happy to talk about how that really happened. But because of the technology, we were able to accelerate that clinical research. And remember, these vaccines, they haven't got the formal approval from regulatory agency. This is an emergency use approval, wherein we know that this is definitely safe, but we still want to collect the additional data. At the same time, we have now enough data to demonstrate this vaccine is safe, this is effective, and there is no reason, why one shouldn't take that. So again, coming back, I think these are the gaps which probably you don't learn in the academics. What is the concept of FEMA, Kaizen principle, or 5I analysis? And I think what are the different regulations of clinical research in terms of European regulations, in terms of MHRA in the UK, in terms of Japanese guidelines, in terms of US FDA. And I think this is where these are huge gaps which I think needs to be filled in. And I think this is where the way, as I see, there are some courses available, and I'm going to talk about that. So, as an academician, you have those basic skill sets in terms of, your awareness about pharmacy profession. And, if you couple that with some of these additional skills, which is something definitely you can learn, you can make yourself sort of, one of the best clinical research professional and be part of this industry. So I'm just going to talk to you about these different regulations. Maybe again, won't go through that, but this is just to give you an idea, the different regulations, the field of good clinical practice, and just sort of talk to you about. There are different courses available if you want to look at that, and maybe happy. I have sort of 2 minutes clip just to show you one of that course. If anyone is interested, I'm happy to talk. So again, you can please complete your the feedback form, and just let me know. Happy to again talk to small group of people just to introduce that course and see if somebody wants to take that course. So in any of that course, you need to have that right course. At the same time, it is not just textbook knowledge, but learning from some of those experiences, and at the same time making sure you're not just learning the Indian guidelines of GCP, you're not just learning the UK guidelines, but getting that holistic perspective, and make sure you also learn the latest knowledge. So as I said, the clinical research is changing very rapidly. So with this decentralization of clinical trials, there is a buzzword which is now coming up, DCT, virtual clinical trial, decentralized clinical trial. So we are using our this ethical principle still, but applying this technology and making clinical research faster, at the same time more safer. So I think what I'm going to do, if Dr. Mansa, if you have just 2 minutes, I just want to walk through a short 2-minute video, and then we will open for Q&A, if that's
Please
okay with you.
take your own time, no issues.
All right, okay. So hopefully, I think my voice is still audible, and please keep those questions coming in. I'm just going to put the video link, and probably I think I will need to change my screen. So give me a second. Dr. Mansa, you are still probably seeing my slide, right? And not the video.
No.
Okay, so I need to stop, and I will start sharing again my internet browser. So give me a second, please. I'm going to share again. Can you see my internet browser now? If
Yes,
somebody can.
yes.
Okay. So yeah, hope it's just about 2.5 minute video, and then we will take Q&A. So please keep your questions coming in.
We are providing a quick summary of our 6-month part-time certification course in clinical research in this video. By completing this fully integrated course, students will acquire a good understanding of the theory as well as the practical aspects of clinical trials, and will have an in-depth training related to clinical research processes, systems, technology, and overall methodology. The course will cover clinical trial requirements from key regulatory authorities and guidelines as follows. International Conference on Harmonization Good Clinical Practice, ICH, GCP. European Medicines Agency, EMA. Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, UK MHRA. United States Food and Drug Administration, US FDA. Pharmaceuticals and Medical Devices Agency, PMDA Japan. World Health Organization, WHO. The Central Drugs Standard Control Organization India, CDSCO. One more aim of this course is also to provide a forum for the nurturing of future global leaders in clinical trials to drive healthcare forward in this 21st century and beyond. We will use our GRIP model, that is Gain, Retain, Improve, and Polish. Teaching will be delivered virtually and face-to-face lectures where possible with the help of national and international faculty, and we will also combine that with tutorials and group work. Every week, the students will receive around 2 to 3 hours of supported study and will be expected to complete around 2 to 3 hours self-directed study. The curriculum comprises 20+ compulsory modules of varying length and intensity. All students will receive access to a personalized virtual learning platform, which will help them learn GCP concepts in a friendly environment and track their own progress. This platform will also guide them throughout their learning journey by identifying their strengths as well as areas they need to acquire additional skills. It does not stop here. The artificial intelligence and machine learning concepts built within this platform will help students to acquire such skills without taking any additional stress of classroom-type environment. Yes, we have made learning easy, and this platform will make sure your learning journey will be an easy ride. After successful completion of this course, the students will receive a certification from GCP Campus UK Limited, which is accredited by Accreditation Council for Clinical Research Education, a renowned accreditation body in the United States. Thank you for listening, and for further inquiries please contact us at gcpcampus@outlook.com or visit our website www.gcpcampus.com. Bye for now, and I will see you there soon. We are providing a quick...
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, and I will just add the link as a feedback to the survey once again into the chat. So please, take your time, complete the survey, how you feel about the session. And with that note, back to you, Dr. Mansadeepa, and we can take some questions.
Thank you, Dr. Patel sir. It is really a very informative. I think now the students from the students community, those who are joined as a delegate of today's webinar, probably they might have received a wonderful idea what if the field of profession where they are going to focus, if as a data scientist or analyst, what kind of role they have to be, of course, whatever the ideas they gain from a book or the syllabus oriented. So how they have to develop their skills, and all, probably they could have been got this house for the Q&A. So for this, I request Dr. Mahendra Singh Rathore sir to chair the session for the Q&A. Over to you, Rathore sir. Unmute your audio, sir. Rathore sir, unmute your audio. Unmute your audio. Yeah, we are unable to hear you.
I think he's saying probably not permitted. So.
Yeah. You're not permitted. Yeah. Okay. 1 minute. Please. Okay.
And I think in the meantime, the audio is becoming audible.
Yeah. Now, am I audible?
Yes, we are audible, sir. So, please read the question so that our speaker can answer one of the other for addressing the questions to the audience. Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and thank you, Patil sir, for this nice presentation. I was hearing this from the beginning till end. And there are some questions from the audience, and probably this is one of the questions that I would like to take from the bottom one. That is, kindly put some light on the artificial intelligence in clinical trials and the drug discovery process? This is a question from Mr. Anand Sheikh, Adnan Sheikh.
Okay. And okay, yeah. So I think very excellent question, and something I'm glad somebody asked. Now, those, I think all of us have studied some history, and I just want to take you back, in our secondary school days, and you may have heard the industry revolution. How the steam engine changed to the sort of electric engine, then to sort of a gas engine, and now the world of these robotics, the automatic cars, the self-driving cars. And I think that's all the evolution. It is considered as industry revolution 4, which everyone is. And one of, as the artificial intelligence is considered as bringing that industry revolution 4, which is where an example of artificial intelligence is the driverless cars. And I'm just giving you that example. Same concept, similar concepts are being got into clinical trial. Actually, I'm just going to give another talk just in another half an hour to another group, separate session on the use of artificial intelligence in clinical trial. And maybe I'm going to say what I'm going to talk to them for 2 hours. I will say in maybe 2-3 minutes. So few examples of artificial intelligence. Right now, we have, in earlier days in the clinical trial, the ECG said, you need to study the ECGs of all the clinical trial patients as one of the criteria, and make sure those ECGs are read by the same doctor. So you can imagine clinical trials are conducted in 100 different hospitals in 50 different countries, but then their ECG recordings will send by post or courier to one reader, maybe in United States, and that radiograph would read that, just to bring that consistency, because one person is reading in the same way. That was the way of doing that. Now what is happening? You have these small portable recorders, ECG machines, which are given to each hospital. As soon as ECG gets recorded, at the same time, somebody sitting in the US can see the recording, how it is getting recorded, and they can analyze that, not waiting for 2 months till the time ECG gets to them. It is real-time analysis. Now, how that is helping? It is helping. Just again, another example currently. This COVID vaccine, as I said, it is, everyone has got the emergency use approval. When I got my COVID vaccine about 6 weeks ago, we here in the UK, we have given that National Health Service app on our mobile. So on our app, immediately we can record any adverse, any side effects, saying that I'm having fever, I'm feeling a bit dizzy. So all those adverse events are, the side effects are collected on real time. So at the end of the day, that company knows that there were about 10 million doses of vaccine given in the US and UK. Out of 10 million doses, we are seeing 100 people impacted with fever, 100 had body ache. So this is the real-time pharmacovigilance data, which in the previous cases, it used to take 3-4 months to collect that data. Now this is happening online. And this is where, research, which used to happen 10-15 years, now it is accelerating fast. These are the concept of bringing that concept of artificial intelligence, machine learning. Again, in terms of, if you look at, we also did, in the drug discovery part, they're also using some of these technologies to see, based on the chemical structure of molecule, say again, how this vaccine came into picture. This and the concept of artificial intelligence was brought into picture again. This virus is not new to scientists. If you look at the COVID-2 virus, it is the family of virus of SARS flu, which we had experienced in 2001. So it is sort of the MERS syndrome, Middle East Africa syndrome, the Ebola. So this is the virus, the family of that virus. And then we got to, I think scientists had knowledge of that, and they just accelerated, okay, what is their biology, what is their pathology, and then they accelerated with that medical chemical modeling and got that, the sequencing done. And they were able to do that just in matter of weeks. And then you had these different pharma companies, they use their sort of scientists, their drug delivery, drug development centers to bring this vaccine. So these are again, very few examples. Even for example, the X-rays right now, if you have the X-ray of the images of a cancer patient, you are able to sort of predict how fast this disease may progress based on other conditions of that. And therefore, you can almost like predict what may happen. And therefore, you can start, maybe adjusting the dose of medications right now. So these are few examples how this, concept of artificial intelligence, there is a new term called as machine learning, deep learning, even the neural processing network. These are the new nuances coming up, and they're going up very fast. And unfortunately, again, as I say, some of these are not taught in the university. So
Yes.
apologies again, with due respect to all the professors, but something needs to happen to bring this relevance back into the academics.
Yeah, I hope this question is nicely answered, and very true, sir. This actually we are not teaching in our academic curriculum this artificial intelligence, and few of the terms I think a majority of us have listened first time actually.
Yeah.
So there are really, this is a good insight that you have given here, and in addition to that, we are having the another question that is from Dr. A. Ganachandran sir. And he is saying asking that will there any adverse event turn to the toxic effects in your clinical research practice, and how you were able to overcome such toxic effect? This was the question asked from the senior professor of our profession.
Yeah, again, very relevant, and again, I'll give the same example. You may or may not have heard about, when WHO declared COVID pandemic on March 15, if my memory serves well, 2020.
Yes. In India,
On the same day, late night, United States government, the public and the private partnership, like pharmaceutical company CEOs, some of the people like the worlds of Microsoft, Google, Apple, they had sort of a informal gathering, and then they made a resolution: we need to come with vaccine about 300 million doses by January 2021. So that was the aim. And then they called this, and probably I have another session actually, what is called as Operation Warp Speed. So we need to accelerate clinical research. We do not have time. One single day delay in bringing this vaccine is causing 100,000 lives. Our economy is completely shut down, and we cannot continue with that. So it was almost like, we were told it is your civic responsibility. It is not you have to do for money. It is your civic responsibility, because some of those people who are dying, maybe they are your close ones, your mother, father, sister. And I think this is where they came up with that. While clinical research needs to be done fast, you cannot cut the corners. It needs to be safe. It cannot be unsafe. So they gave about $10 billion funding to 10 companies. And Janssen was one of them, AstraZeneca, the Oxford University. There were a couple of companies like GSK and Merck. They also received the funding. But in December, I think November 2021 last year, they stopped the program of their vaccine development, because they felt they are not achieving the desired level of efficacy, and they do not have adequate data. So I think some of these things get discovered during that clinical research and then identified at an early stage. And that's how you will also see the development of those GSK, GlaxoSmithKline and Merck. They announced they're not going to develop that vaccine further until they collect more evidence. I will give you one more example. You may have heard about AstraZeneca vaccine. The Covishield was put on temporary hold in the US, in UK, Europe. And there was a lot of talk saying that, is it unsafe? But what happened? Again, I want to give you a real ground picture. Out of 76 million doses which were administered back in February across the globe, the pharmaceutical company observed there were about 16 deaths occurred. The patient, somebody took the vaccine, out of 676 million, 16 people died. Now, if you look at 16 people among 760 lakh, very small number. Even if you go and check paracetamol drug, you will find indications saying that there is a chance of 1 in million patient may experience serious adverse event. But then, immediately they looked at that and they found the major cause of cause of death because of the clot formation. And again, they found that clot formation was more in the younger population and those people who had concurrent illnesses. Somebody was battling cancer, somebody was diabetic. So it was not just because of vaccine. It was because of these other little things. And therefore, they came saying that it is still safe. the risk benefit ratio. And at the same time, to be on safer side, they recommended, so here in UK, as the UK government has recommended, try and avoid give this vaccine below 30 years of age group. Now, again, that doesn't mean it is not safe. It is just we are collecting additional data. Even last year, the vaccine was contraindicated for pregnancy. Now we have additional data to prove this is safe. So you will see, like, some of these new things will come up. So to address your point, yes, there are some of those toxic effects, but they're identified at an early stage, and this is where the advances of technology coming in to track them earlier and do something about it.
Yes, sir. So I think this question is covered the whole aspects of Ganasundar himself. And again, there's a question that he's asking about your opinion about the superimposed vaccines. And will you please give some opinion about that? That in the non-immunocompromised individuals, what are about the side effects, adverse effects? What is your opinion about that?
Yeah. Now, I think in terms of the way adverse, but I think this is like probably I think you people are more like great academician and know more than sort of me, because I left there studying. But the way it works, and I think this is the beauty of science and clinical research. Why somebody gets fever after taking vaccine but not the other person, and there are a lot of things which is again identified as a part of clinical research. The way our body behaves is different because we eat different food, we have different habitat. Some people are smoker, some people are drink alcohol, some people are fat, some are thin, some had family history, and or somebody is from white origin, somebody is like from black or a different ethnic origin. So all these are, I think, factor play play, and on the top of that you also had some of those concurrent illnesses that each one of us having. So again, I read an interesting article just yesterday. You talked about should, and there is a debate going on right now. As a part of clinical trial last year, cancer patients were not enrolled, the HIV patients, because their immunity already compromised, and we didn't want to add that. So there is a talk going on to generate more data. We should have cancer patient part of actual clinical trial. Again, if you look at the cancers, cancer trials are the only trials where first in man study is conducted on cancer patient. All other diseases, we take healthy human volunteers. So again, I think in the clinical science, you have to weigh the risk and benefit. So, in terms of coming back to your question, can I give this vaccine to somebody whose immunity is already compromised? And do I need to give that because I have to protect him? He or she will otherwise, the risk is more versus the side effects of the drugs. And if the answer is yes, for now we need to give vaccine to this person because otherwise the risk to his or her life is a lot more than not giving the vaccine. So I think there is sort of it's a complex phenomena. And again, interesting thing, if you look at the AstraZeneca and Moderna vaccine, particular we have identified AstraZeneca vaccine, Covishield, with the first dose, you have those major side effects, fever, body ache. On the second day, in fact, I was almost lying on the bed. But on the second dose, I was perfectly fine. However, some of my friends who received Moderna vaccine, they were absolutely fine with the first dose, but with the second dose, because again the technology is used in each of those vaccines, like an mRNA, and those are different technology. So again, coming back to the question, there is a lot of research being done. Which of the technology is good for the patients who are already immunosuppressed because of other illnesses going on? And is there a particular group of vaccine needs to be given to them to fight against COVID?
So sir, ma'am, can we continue with the time is permitting us?
Yeah, I think I have probably another 10 minutes, so we can go ahead because I need to start with another session at 8:30, and then I have third one, which is going to start late in the afternoon my time. Sorry,
I think we will accomplish this thing by this last question. I would address that some Arul Kumaran, Mr. He's asking that can you say something about the electronic clinical assessment?
Very good question. Very nice question. It is called as ECOA, Electronic Clinical Outcome Assessment. And I will like to give another real example. So this is in the traditional world, research was done paper-based. And what I can mean, so if you again think about all this phase 1 to phase 3 clinical trial data, when this data is actually submitted to regulatory agencies, and think about, like, I'm talking about 30 years back, literally it used to be packed in, maybe about 15, 20 big trucks and submitted to the regulatory office. So you can consider like an A4 size page, the booklets, which will be packed into about 15 big trucks. That's the volume of data. And then somebody has to go through that in order to give approval. It's very, very time consuming exercise. And then somebody has to analyze. So right now, the concept of electronic clinical outcome assessment has come in. What does that mean? And this is what happened. Somebody asked about artificial intelligence, machine learning. We, as a part of clinical trial, there is something called as quality of life questionnaire. Patients are asked some questionnaires, just like as I gave an example, you took vaccine. Now, whenever you have adverse event, can you report that? So for the first, not I wouldn't say first time, but we started using this electronic patient diaries. So patients were given electronic diaries on their mobile devices. So as as they took the vaccine shot, they were asked, okay, every day, maybe like once in the morning, then in the afternoon, then in the evening, you have to record your symptoms, even to say like, I'm perfectly fine, or I have slight fever, or maybe I had broken tooth. Again, remember, not necessarily related to study drug, but I just had, or I was admitted. So you record that. So they were given that electronic diary, and this is what is called as electronic outcome assessment. ECOA, the new term coming in, which is advances of technology, wherein the idea is how you can collect data faster and how you can analyze with the techniques of artificial intelligence, so that, as I said, within a matter of few days, we were able to come and say, the company was able to come and AstraZeneca and confidently say, yes, we know there are 16 deaths, but at the same time, we know the causal relationship is not because of COVID, it is something else. And then they were able to analyze that with this technique. So this is sort of another good concept, electronic clinical outcome assessment, which is called as ECOA, coming up. The electronic health record, that's another thing which is coming up. And this is helping us to take the, accelerate the pace of clinical research.
Yeah. So I think all the questions are answered. So would like to narrate this talk of Dr. Bhausar Patil. It is a very fantastic one. In a couple of minutes, I will do that.
Yeah.
So that,
thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Yes,
yeah,
please. And really, it's a very, very informative session. It's a real thing, like the students community, what they have to understand, it's from the book they have to come now out. And they have to learn the questionnaire Q&A session, what it gives a furthermore idea about that, the soft skills, what are the soft skills they have to prepare before they get into the industry. I think a very clearly transparent way you have answered. Thank you for that. Patil sir. And now moving to the felicitation of our today's speaker. For this, I request Dr. Atul to hand over the token of love and appreciation with a certificate to our today's speaker. Dr. Atul, over to you.
Yes, so Patil sir, this is with a pleasure, and it was really one of the fantastic talks I heard, and it was very knowledge insight. So kindly accept this certificate of appreciation from the APSC, and it's my pleasure to be part of this event. And I am really very thankful to the president, Dr. Milind Palle sir, Dr. Sir Bakoda sir, Joshi sir, for providing me such opportunity.
Yeah, before we wind up the session, thank you, Dr. Patil sir. There is one obligation from our side. We understand you're busy with the next schedule of meeting. We want to, if we would like to, request you to pick one best question. From that, we want to award a best delegate award for this session. So we request you to take a few more moments to pick.
Sure. Thank you. And I think probably you're making me nervous. But and again, you may feel biased, but I think all are excellent questions. So there is nothing I can say, and these are really relevant questions. One thing before I sort of feel, I just felt maybe one of the questions stood out. But again, I want to sincerely tell each one of you. On one hand, even though I'm saying you have excellent degree, there are some skill gaps, but my sincere request, don't think that means you cannot become clinical research professional. I have studied myself from a small village. I think I was talking to Dr. Parle. Karadi is my native place, but even my native place is further 35 kilometers. And right now that is fully flooded. Even during these days, buses do not ply to that place, and that's the place. Even some of my primary education was like below the tree. There were no proper schools. So some of these cows and buffaloes used to go to the forest to eat the grass, and we used to their place to study. So I think it was, but the point I'm saying, I think I still had that passion. I wanted to do something different. I do not look good. Probably I do not speak good English, but with that passion, I still reached from there to here. And it is great sense of satisfaction. I'm talking to you. It also comes with a passion. And if I have reached from that small village from there to here, I think everyone here, I can still see there are about 128 participants. Each one of you have that ability. So, keep that fire within, and, if you have will, you will definitely find a way. With that, Dr. Mans, I just felt, I think the question which was asked about the artificial intelligence, and if I see the name correctly, Dr. I think Adnan Sheikh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Adnan Sheikh.
So that was, I think, probably an excellent question. And that also shows, I think, that somebody's hearing my talk. And also sort of following. There were a lot of follow-up questions that ECOA and all those are good questions, but I think that was a good trigger point. So again, keep your thinking hat on, and sometime you never know. You can be one of the leading professional, and you can be me in just a few years' time.
Yes, this question was taken as a master's topic for his dissertation. That he sends to some student.
Yeah. And again, maybe I'm happy to talk about that. It's a very, very fascinating field. I'm very passionate, and in fact, the decentralization of clinical trials. So if there is an interest, happy to come on to another forum and talk about that.
Yeah. There is one obligation. Take it as this is an obligation from our APSC team. If you show some interest to show them, take up some of the students through the APSC, and we are having certain such kind of future plans in our APSC to begin with the mentorship programs. So we request you find some good candidates from our side. If you can, I think students community can get the benefit of.
Yeah. So again, yeah.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Is I audible?
Right.
Is I audible?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah. We from the APSC, I want to put obligation here that please in the future days, forthcoming days, we are planning for going with the mentorship program. Whomever the speakers, if they come across to give a talk. If you appreciate or say like give the mentorship to be a mentee for that students community, and definitely it will be a great help for their set of path in the profession. Thank you. With this, thank you once again. I request Professor Wakade sir to present today's best delegate, which goes to Adnan Sheikh. I'm sorry, Mr. Adnan, whether I'm pronouncing in the right way or I do not know. I request for today's winner.
Congratulations, Adnan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adnan, congratulations.
Wakade sir, unmute your audio.
No, you will permit, then he will do it.
Yeah.
So I think the same problem is facing.
Yeah, everyone, I think today there are huge number of webinar which is going, but still, Patil sir, you can see that there are more number of participants, those who have shown interest, obviously, just to give only the research, nothing else, because you see like even more than 200, I think, cross 350 participants over the even the online as well as the YouTube. They have joined to hear your talk. Thank you once again. I request Professor Parley sir to give a presidential remarks over about today's webinar. Parley sir, over to you. So that we can hear you. Yeah, we can now.
Okay. Am I unable to? Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, now
Yes,
we
sir.
can.
Right. It had been really a wonderful talk. Thank you, Dr. Bhausaheb Patil. See, it's very motivating, you know. He talked of Karad and village from Karad. Let me tell the audience, yes, my birthplace is Karad. My basic BPharm degree is from Government College, Karad. And my roommates used to come walking bare feet, no chappals, imagine, with tiffin packed from their home. Such was the village background. Today, it's all flooded, it's underwater, there are no buses flying. And Bhausaheb Patil has grown, travel all over the world, being educated from this place. And he knows what's what in the world. I'll tell you, in Marathi, Bhau means bhaiya, elder brother, and Sahib, you know, Saab. So even the name speaks that simple name. Patil is a very common name. And he says everything is possible. Have fire within. You may not be good in English. You may not be good in technology. You may not be good at subject. But if you have that passion, if you feel you can do it, if you are ready to work for it, everything is possible. Just everything. And clinical trials is an in thing. He has rightly said that Asian countries, particularly China and India, cover almost 50% of the world population, but only 1% of clinical trials are done. And 90% of the clinical trials are done in countries where the population is less than 10%. So we have an opportunity. This is an area where in coming years, we are going to have pharmacists being employed by virtue of the knowledge we have, the training we have. See, life sciences, microbiologists, parasitologists, biotechnologists do not know what is a drug. They do not know what is drug manufacturing. They do not know anything about quality. We know it. We know what's manufacturing. We know what is drug testing. We know what is assurance, and we know pharmacology of it. So we are best suited for clinical trials. And earlier, it used to take 10 to 15 years to develop a new molecule and bring it to the market. With the advent of technology, number of years have been reduced. And what this COVID-19 has told us, what it has taught us, within 8 months, 8 vaccines have come in the market. In 8 months, 8 vaccines have come in the market, and the quality is not compromised. The speaker rightly said he would be the first one vouch for the vaccine, because so described, so comprehensive, so careful, systematic, the trials are carried out. They are all safe. When it has come out in 8 months, it only means we do not know how long the effect of the vaccine would last, but we know about its efficacy. We are sure about its safety. And this is what, you know, Covishield and other vaccines have proven. Dr. Patil has very nicely said there is a confusion among laymen, clinical practice and clinical research. Basic thing, we use the term clinical practice because doctors are practicing. Each patient is different. Each body is different. And he is experimenting on, well, not on volunteers, on patients. So he is practicing. This is clinical practice. He develops experience and uses the established drugs. This is not clinical trial. Clinical trial is something of a new molecule. We do not know its efficacy. We do not know whether it will work for the disease. We do not know whether it is safe. What we know is, yes, in preclinical studies, in animal studies, in our software studies, it is useful. This is what is clinical research. We also know what is adverse event and adverse effect. If you observe an unusual event during clinical trials, it is adverse event. But if you observe something during clinical practice, it is a side effect or an adverse effect. Very nicely covered, sir. Pharmacies are best placed. And about emergency use, let me tell you, all these vaccines have been approved by various regulatory authorities for emergency use. It just means that we are weighing the benefit risk ratio. When the deaths are taking place in lakhs, if we give this vaccine, when it is found to be safe in all the 3 clinical trials, it is going to be worthwhile. Therefore, we have an emergency of pandemic. Therefore, the emergency use is allowed. No doubt, what is expected is whether they are useful in children, whether they are useful in pregnant women, whether their effect like polio vaccine would last for next 10 years. We'll have to study for 10 years. How can we say in 10 months that it will be effective in 10 years? So this is what is an emergency use. It does not mean that it is adverse. It does not mean that it is harmful. It is very effective, very nicely covered, very motivating talk. And we'd like to, have you on more platforms, Bausaib-ji. And you have touched my heart being from Karad. And I remember my school days and those tough days. Everything is possible. It's only rural children. Those children who have great stamina can rise in life. Just have good discipline and stamina. Nobody can beat you. Just nobody can beat you. Go ahead. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
No, and thank you very much. I think it really means me a lot. And I think when I started my session, I just want to repeat that. Your self-beliefs are greater than doubts of 1,000 other people. So if you believe in something, if all other people are saying you're crap, you're nonsense, just go ahead with it and you will achieve what you want to be. I have experienced that myself. So thank you.
Very true, sir. Very true. Very true.
Dr. Manasa, I think you're on mute. Maybe you're saying something.
Thank you, Dr. Sir. Remarks. Yes, we always serve for the research. This have to continue for a longer period. So this is our tradition, like we want to, Joshi sir, can you please allow me to share the screen? Yeah, please. As Parli sir have mentioned that we always go with our traditional practice. Delegates, those who are here, and a special thanks to the today's speaker and the various vice presidents, all those who have joined for this webinar. Just a thank you is a mighty powerful prayer says it's all for us to present a vote of thanks. I request Dr. Joshi sir to join with us to present a vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mansadeepa. And I understand it's already too late for our speaker. And first of all, we are highly thankful to you, Bhausab Patel sir. As rightly said by our Guru Parle sir, in your name itself, there are 2 words, right? You are a brother also, and you are our Sahib in pharmaceutical sciences also. So on this eve of, our APSA webinar, and more evidently, today is Guru Purnima. And among all gurus, you are also a guru, and now you are our brother also. So we are highly thankful to you for sparing your wonderful and valuable time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
And as you know very well, I know APS is mainly committed for research, nothing else. Our name, the agenda is very simple. It is only research, nothing else. We want to only talk about research or at the most about education, not any other thing. Yeah. And we have with us our Guru of Gurus, the Professor Parle sir. Thankful to you, sir, for your time and wonderful blessings to us. And we are also thankful to our very good friend, a very dynamic and a leader of our pharmacy field, Dr. Mahendra Singh Rathod, a very energetic man, keep on doing a lot of activities for our pharmacy profession. Highly thankful to you, Rathod sir. And again, now we are also our brother. We are like a family here now. Thank you so much for that. And Vakode sir, we will not tell you thanks first of all, because jitna bhi bolenge utna kam hoga. Again, very highly thankful to you, sir, for all your time and introducing Bhaus Sahib sir to us. Formally, we have heard about Sahib sir from a long time, but you actually introduced him to us. Thank you so much. And thanks to Dr. C.R. Patil, we can see him. The epitome of pharmacology research, and not apart from regular conventional research, he's involved in so many softwares which are highly required, for our younger generation. Thanks to you, and we will trouble you very soon. Vakode sir is there. We are going to trouble you very soon. Thank you, Patil sir, and thanks to our friend Dr. Deepa for the excellent moderation and all making the program very useful and very attractive. And thanks to our friend Vinay and all the teachers who have assembled here. I'm not able to take the names of everyone because the time is not permitting us. So thank you very much for your wonderful time, and once again to Bhaus Sahib Patil sir. And let us do only one thing, that is only research, nothing else. Thank you so much.
I like that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Every time we request Dr. Joshi sir to present the thanks, but we never thanked. But you never mind that. But so from all our APSC team, we thank you so much, sir, for every time you thank every one of us. But it's just since it's a Guru Purnima, so you are the motivator of the many of the students. So we want to, on behalf of your students, team person, Mr. Vinay, also behind the screen, back and what is working for the hard for all this webinar to be a great successful. Thank you, Mr. Vinay. And yes, we want to conclude this session with the future, webinar. We all are, I request all the delegates also join here. Yes, the show yours the utmost interest. Again, we meet you with a similar kind. This time we want to keep this as a whole. Yes, we want to come with a good one. So yes, we'll meet in the next our webinar. With us, I thank one among all those who have joined for this today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
We'll be in contact, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we will be troubling you in between.
Not at all. I like getting trouble.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And associated today's this webinar,
I'm extremely sorry I missed Dr. Arul Kumaran sir.
Yes.
Because we are brothers already. He's my big boss also. Thanks to Dr. Arul Kumaran, and thanks to the College of the KTN College of Pharmacy, and also Sharda Vilas College of Pharmacy students and staff who have joined here. I think people will not mind because they are our family. It is a formality. Thanks to everyone. Thank you once again. I think Bhaus Sahib sir is getting very late. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No,
Yes,
thank you.
You told sir that there is research only, nothing else.
Right.
So
Yes.
there is no point
Yes,
of
yes.
minding, sir.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll
Okay,
take a
then.
leave
Bye.
now.
Sign
Thank you.
off.
Bye.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Okay.
Thank you. We'll sign off then, sir. Thank you.